Stuck in traffic with sweat pouring down your back while your AC just wheezes? Don't worry, it doesn't mean a $1,000 repair. It just means you don't know these simple tricks yet. Today, I'll share the real fixes that turn your hotbox into an ice cave. Stick around as all of them combined will set your car temperature cool for the whole summer. Number 8. Clean the condenser for maximum cooling. Let's start with the thing nobody ever talks about, but almost every car suffers from: the condenser. This poor guy sits right at the front of your car getting smacked by bugs, dirt, and every piece of road trash you can imagine. Think of it like the punching bag of your car's AC system. Day in, day out, it just sits there, facing traffic, taking all the hits while you cruise around in your air-conditioned comfort. The problem is, all that stuff doesn't just bounce off and disappear. It sticks. Dirt, bugs, leaves, you name it. And the more that gunk builds up, the less heat the condenser can get rid of. Now, if the condenser can't release heat, what happens? Your AC just decides to give up. Instead of blowing cool air, it starts coughing out something between lukewarm soup and a weak fan breeze. When the condenser is dirty and can't do its job, your compressor gets dragged into the mess. It's forced to work double time just to try and keep up. And when the compressor fails, say goodbye to your bank account. The average repair bill for a compressor replacement? Around $1,200. Yep, all because you didn't blast a few bugs off your condenser. Imagine explaining that one to your friends. Yeah, I had to drop $1,200 because I didn't wash the bug graveyard off my car. Doesn't sound too smart, right? The good news is, fixing this is ridiculously easy. Grab a pressure hose, set it to medium strength. Not so strong you bend the metal, but not so weak that the dirt laughs at you, and spray that condenser down. Most of the grime will slide right off. For the stubborn bug splats that look like they're glued on for life, just take a brush and scrub them away. This simple cleaning can instantly give your AC a noticeable boost. And let's be real, if something that takes 10 minutes saves you from dropping $1,000 on repairs, it's kind of a no-brainer. Now, cleaning the condenser is great for cooling performance, but there's another spot people forget about that's even sneakier. It doesn't just mess with how cold the air is, it also affects the air you breathe. Number 7. Clear and disinfect the AC inlet. Now let's talk about the AC inlet, that little section at the base of your windshield where air gets sucked in. It looks innocent, but it's actually one of the dirtiest, nastiest places in your whole car. Because here's what happens. Leaves, twigs, dust, and whatever else is floating around get trapped in those openings. And when dirt meets moisture, oh boy, that's mold paradise. You know that horrible musty smell that sometimes blasts out of your vents? Yeah, that's the mold colony you've been driving around with. Congratulations, you've been air freshening your lungs with fungus. When this inlet is clogged, airflow weakens like crazy. Your AC feels like it's on life support, barely pushing out air even though the settings are cranked to max. And meanwhile, you and your passengers are just sitting there inhaling spores. Hot weather makes this even worse, because mold grows faster in warm, damp conditions. So every time you skip cleaning the inlet, you're basically creating a 5-star hotel for bacteria. Luckily, fixing this isn't rocket science. Here's the simple hack. Turn your AC fan to the lowest setting and roll the windows down. Then, grab a disinfectant spray, Lysol works fine, or any AC cleaner, and spray it directly into that inlet. The fan pulls it into the system, spreading it through the vents, and kills the bacteria hiding inside. But here's the important detail. Take out your cabin filter first. If you don't, the filter just blocks the spray from doing its job, and you end up wasting time. With the filter out, the disinfectant flows freely and clears everything up. But here's the thing. Cleaning the inlet is only half the battle. Because even with a spotless inlet, the real challenge is what's already cooking inside your car. That trapped heat doesn't just disappear on its own, and until you deal with it, your AC is going to struggle no matter how clean the system is. Number 6. Purge hot air before cooling. Here's where people make one of the dumbest mistakes every summer. They think the smart move is to turn on the AC while the car is still parked and let it run for 10 or 15 minutes before driving. Sounds logical, right? You hop in later, and it's nice and cool. Wrong. What you're really doing is wasting fuel and beating up your compressor for no good reason. Idling AC uses about half a gallon of fuel every single hour. Half a gallon. That's like throwing money out the window while you sit there waiting for the car to cool down. The smarter way is ridiculously simple. Roll down every window in the car, blast the fan on the highest setting, and let that oven-like hot air escape. You only need to do this for about 15 to 20 seconds. That's it. The difference it makes is insane. Instead of asking your AC to turn a 118-degree Fahrenheit sauna into a cool cabin all on its own, you're giving it a head start by flushing out the worst of the heat. And yes, 118 degrees Fahrenheit isn't an exaggeration. On a hot day, after just 40 minutes parked in direct sunlight, the inside of your car can hit that insane temperature. Imagine sitting inside that without venting first. Your AC doesn't stand a chance. Here's a small trick that makes it work even better. When you start closing the windows, roll up the front ones first and leave the rear ones cracked open for another 15 seconds. This creates a tunnel effect, pulling hot air out faster and letting the AC spread cold air more efficiently. Once that's done, close the rear windows and enjoy the cool blast. But as effective as venting is, there's still one setting inside your car that's massively misunderstood. It's sitting right there on your dashboard, and if you don't know how to use it properly, you're leaving a ton of cooling power on the table. Number 5. Master the recirculation button. Let's talk about the most underrated button on your dashboard. You know that little symbol with the arrow looping around? Yeah, the one most people think is some kind of U-turn sign. Hate to break it to you, but it's not telling you to spin the car around. That's the recirculation button, and honestly, it's the difference between your AC just surviving and absolutely killing it in brutal summer heat. Here's the deal. Without it, your AC is working with the worst possible conditions. It's dragging in the outside air, which on a hot day is basically like trying to chill down a blow dryer. You're asking the system to take 100-degree Fahrenheit air and somehow turn it into something comfortable. No wonder it feels weak. But hit that recirculation button, and suddenly the game changes. Now your AC isn't fighting the oven outside, it's just reusing the already cooled air inside your cabin. It's like recycling, except this version actually makes your car feel better instead of making you separate your garbage. This button becomes your best friend in traffic too. Picture this. You're stuck on the highway, windows sealed shut, surrounded by trucks belching fumes. Without recirculation, all those lovely exhaust smells are coming straight into your vents. With it on, the smells stay outside where they belong. Clean, cool air stays inside with you, and your nose thanks you later. Now sure, there is one little catch. When you use recirculation, sometimes the back seats don't cool down as evenly. The front gets icy fast, but the people sitting in the back might still be sweating for a bit. Not a big deal if you're riding solo, but if you've got passengers, they might complain. That's why the recirculation trick works even better when it's paired with something else that fixes airflow entirely. Because here's the truth, if your cabin air filter is clogged, even magic buttons won't save you. Number 4. Replace the cabin air filter regularly. The cabin air filter doesn't sound glamorous, but it's basically your car's lungs. This thing blocks dust, pollen, smog, and even tiny bits of leaves from blasting into your face every time you hit the AC. But here's where the problem starts. Over time, all that stuff clogs it up, and once it's clogged, airflow drops like a rock. Suddenly, your AC is gasping, trying to push cold air through a filter that's basically acting like a brick wall. Experts say you should be swapping it every 12,000 to 15,000 miles. That's the safe zone. But if you live in a dusty climate or drive through construction zones all the time, you might need to do it even sooner. Ignore it, and you're not just dealing with weak cooling. A dirty filter becomes a breeding ground for mold and bacteria. So instead of breathing clean air, you're basically sitting there sucking in germs. Ever wonder why your car smells funky even though you've cleaned everything? Yeah, that's usually the filter screaming at you to replace it. And replacing it is ridiculously cheap and easy. Most filters cost around 20 bucks. That's it. You don't need to sell a kidney and you don't need to beg a mechanic. On most modern cars, it's sitting right behind the glove box. Pop the glove box out, slide the old filter out, put the new one in, and you're done. Whole process? Maybe 5 minutes if you're slow. But mechanics will happily charge you 50 bucks or more to do this simple swap, which is hilarious because there are hundreds of DIY videos online showing you exactly how to do it yourself. So unless you enjoy paying double or triple for someone else to do something you can handle, just DIY it. The point is simple. No matter how fancy your AC settings are, they won't mean a thing if your filter is clogged. Even recirculation mode can't push out cold air if it's trying to squeeze through a dirty, moldy filter. That's why this step is so crucial, because once your airflow is clean and strong, the AC finally has room to do its job. But here's the thing. Even with the cleanest filter in the world, your AC still has to deal with one enemy: the insane amount of heat your car builds up just sitting outside. And that's where your parking choices can either save your AC or destroy it. Number 3, park smart to beat the heat. Now let's talk about the part nobody thinks about: where you park. Seems simple, right? You just leave the car somewhere and forget it. But here's the brutal truth. Your parking spot might be the reason your AC feels weak. On a nice 80-degree Fahrenheit day, your car sitting in direct sunlight can hit 118 degrees Fahrenheit inside in just 40 minutes. That's not a typo. That's science. Step inside after that and it feels like you've just walked into a sauna wearing jeans. And guess what's stuck with the job of cooling that furnace? Yep, your AC. When the cabin is that hot, your AC has to work twice as hard just to bring the temperature down to something bearable. Twice the strain on the compressor, twice the drain on the battery, and way more fuel burned. And we're not talking about a small increase either. On blazing hot days, AC usage can eat up to 20% more fuel than on mild days. That's like throwing away 1/5 of your gas just because you didn't bother to park smarter. The easiest solution? Shade. Parking under a tree or a building can instantly slash cabin temps by nearly 20 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the difference between climbing into an oven and climbing into something just warm. It's still hot, but it's not cooking you alive. Your AC doesn't have to work nearly as hard, which means it cools faster and uses less fuel. Not only does this save fuel and keep you more comfortable, but it also reduces wear on your compressor and fans. Less strain means fewer repairs down the road. It's one of those small prevention steps that pays off in comfort, money saved, and the life of your system. And if you've done all this, used the recirculation button, kept the filter clean, parked smart, and your AC still struggles, then it's time to look at the fluids that keep the whole thing alive. Because when the lifeblood of your AC system runs low, no amount of tricks will save it. Number 2, keep refrigerant and coolant in check. Here's the thing. People keep getting wrong about refrigerant. It doesn't expire. You don't wake up one day and find that it's gone stale, like milk in your fridge. What actually happens is much simpler. Your system is never 100% sealed, no matter what the dealership promised you when you drove off the lot. Tiny leaks happen slowly over time, and that's why the AC eventually feels weaker. But instead of panicking and rushing to a shop, here's what you should know. A simple DIY recharge kit costs about $40. That's it. Meanwhile, shops will happily charge you $300 just to pump the same stuff in, and if you're really unlucky, a shady mechanic might even try to upsell you on some fake $1,000 condenser repair, all because you didn't realize you could do it yourself with one kit and 10 minutes of effort. Now, when it comes to refrigerants, let's clear up the biggest scam going around. There are 2 common types: R134A and R1234YF. Everyone and their mother keeps pushing R1234YF as the eco-friendly option. Sure, it might look good on paper, but here's the part they don't tell you. It costs 20 times more than R134A and isn't noticeably better in real-world cooling. So, unless you enjoy burning cash for bragging rights, stick with R134A. It cools great, it doesn't kill your wallet, and you don't need to pretend you're saving the planet with overpriced refrigerant that barely makes a difference. But refrigerant is only half the story here. Let's talk about coolant, the other fluid that people completely forget about until it's too late. The irony is almost funny. Coolant doesn't make your AC cold directly, but if you run low on it, your AC basically shuts itself off. Why? Because modern car computers are smart enough to protect the engine. If the engine starts overheating, the system kills the AC compressor to prevent extra strain. And what do you get instead of cold air? A face full of hot air blasting straight out of your vents in the middle of summer. It gets worse. Ignoring your coolant can snowball into an actual disaster. Run low for long enough, and you're not just risking your AC, you're risking your entire engine. And guess what the bill is when your engine cooks itself to death? Around $7,000. Yeah, $7,000. All because you didn't bother topping up the coolant. Doesn't sound so harmless anymore, does it? So here's the bottom line. Refrigerant keeps the AC cold, coolant keeps the system alive. Both are dirt cheap to manage on your own, and both save you from massive repair bills if you just pay attention. But even with perfect fluids, there's still one last piece of the puzzle. Because if the hardware pushing all that cooling power fails, none of this matters. Number 01. Inspect fans and belts before summer hits. Let's get into the stuff most people never check until it's way too late. The fans and the belt. Your car usually has two radiator fans sitting right behind the grille. Their one job, to blow air over the condenser so it can actually cool the refrigerant. Now here's where it gets interesting. If one fan dies, your AC still limps along for a while, but performance drops. If both fans fail, game over. Your AC completely gives up, and suddenly you're sitting in a hot box wondering why nothing works. Testing them couldn't be simpler. Just pop the hood, crank your AC to max, and let the car run for 5 minutes. Then take a look. Both fans should be spinning steadily. If only one is moving or they're dead still, you've got a problem. But don't panic, because fixing it doesn't have to destroy your bank account. Dealerships love to quote you $300 to $500 for replacement fans. That's the official price. The real price? You can grab aftermarket fans for under $100. Same job, less drama, and you don't have to line a dealer's pockets. Now, let's move to the belt, specifically the serpentine belt that links your compressor to the engine. This thing is the unsung hero of your AC system. If it's loose, cracked, or slipping, the compressor won't spin properly. And if the compressor isn't spinning at the right speed, cooling efficiency tanks instantly. What's worse, if you let a bad belt slide too long, it can eventually kill the compressor completely. And that, once again, drops you straight into a $2,000 repair bill. The smart move is to inspect your belt every so often. Look for cracks. Listen for squealing noises when you start the car. That high-pitched squeal isn't your imagination. It's the belt crying for help. If it looks slack or feels slippery, don't wait. Replace it. A brand new serpentine belt costs about $65 on average. Compare that to $2,000 for a compressor, and it's not hard to do the math. Replace the belt early, save yourself from catastrophic damage later. Fans and belts might not be glamorous, but they're the backbone of your AC system. You can have the perfect refrigerant, topped-off coolant, and every other hack in the book, but if your fans don't spin or your belt slips, nothing else matters. That's why this final step is so important. It keeps the whole system running smoothly when the heat hits hardest. And if you found these tricks helpful, hit that subscribe button so you never have to sweat through another summer drive again.